Sara Hsu is the CEO of the China Rising Capital Forecast. She says the property boom in China shows no sign of slowing down.
The home prices are still rising, even though the government has said that houses are for living in and not for speculation any number of times. But the prices are so high that in the really large cities like Beijing, it would take an average family about over 20 years to purchase a house outright if they just used their income directly and didn't purchase anything else. So this has meant that Chinese households have had to borrow an increasing amount of money to buy these very expensive homes. So the households hold about $6.8 trillion in personal debt. Most of this is in mortgage debt, and this is only set to rise. Now, the danger to the global economy is not so great because the house prices are somewhat managed, meaning that the local governments don't allow them to fall extensively. So we wouldn't expect home prices to crash. But if they were to come down, even just a little bit, this means that this is a reduction in the wealth of many Chinese, and this could result in a decline in consumption.
So which housing markets face an uphill battle and which cities are seeing improvement or are considered good places to buy? What are some places to watch?
So in general, the Chinese consider real estate to be a good bet. And it is because the government has ensured that housing prices continue to rise, even though it's tried to dampen speculation. And so housing prices are rising in many major cities. Recent statistics show that the home prices were rising in most cities, in fact. And this is happening in the larger cities as well as in the lower tier cities. And there's even greater growth in the lower tier cities than in the larger cities. So that, from a standpoint of a household investing their funds, this has been a good thing for growing household wealth.
So that being said, what is the Chinese government doing to make housing more affordable?
Yeah, so the government has tried to get local governments to try to implement policies to reduce home purchases. They have attempted also to guide larger cities to increase their supply of public rental housing in the hopes that as people rent instead of purchasing their homes, that this will help to keep a lid on some of those rising home prices. And in addition to that, some of the cities are trying to issue loans to help developers rental projects. So really to spur the rental markets.
And Sarah, what remain the biggest challenges when it comes to affordable housing in China? Is it the lack of land for developers, the laws and regulations? What are some of the things that could be improved upon?
Yeah, so it's a difficult thing because the housing market is controlled. And so if housing prices go down at all, then people will begin to protest. And the government has attempted to keep tabs on protest and maintain social stability. And at the same time, people are trying to grow their wealth. So they want to see increases in home values. So right now, the total stock of real estate amounts to about $65 trillion. And this is more than double all of the G7 economies combined. So if there were some sort of significant slowdown in the property markets, this could potentially affect a lot of housing all over China, and people would see their wealth decline. This would result in a collapse in consumption. So this is something that the government really has to walk a fine line between having housing prices get too high and having them get too low.